Hi, my name is Alice Henry. I'm the program manager at Element Society. The first question is, how long have you been with Element Society and what is your primary role? I started with Elements almost 2 years ago, doing grant writing, and I've continued in that role, but I also work on developing the programs that we do, delivering them, and coordinating across all the different school districts that we work with. Secondly, can you provide an overview of the program you work most closely on? Who's involved? How does it work? What are the priorities and goals? What is the outcome? So, the main program that I work on is called Zero Waste Place. It is a program with the City of Vancouver, and it teaches students in grades 4 through grades 9 about Vancouver's Zero Waste 2040 strategy, and really digs into this problem of waste. So, asking questions like, what material are the things that I use made out of? How long do the things that I use last? Do I use them once and get rid of them? Or am I able to reuse them again and again? And really pushing students to think up the waste hierarchy. So not just thinking about recycling, but thinking about reusing, reducing, and sometimes avoiding the stuff that they don't need in the first place. Um, that program is a classroom-based workshop program. So we go into classrooms 3 times essentially. The first time is all about doing activities that help us learn about the problem. The second workshop is really starting to think about what the students can do about that problem in their own local context. And then the third workshop for grades 4, 5, 6 students, that workshop is all about following up on the project that they completed. And for our secondary students, grades 8 and 9, that third workshop is all about starting to pitch an innovative idea for something they can do with waste in their community. Um, the priorities and goals really, it's about getting students to realize the power that they have in their communities to affect change. And so it's really about understanding this problem of waste, but understanding it's not insurmountable, that they have a role in combating it and that they can do something that really helps the city of Vancouver start to meet their larger goals of this zero waste by 2040. And we see a ton of different outcomes. So we have some schools do neighborhood cleanups, some schools do really cool art installations or reuse waste in a really cool way. A lot of schools will improve the education and the signage around their school. So, for instance, Vancouver School Board, their main problem with waste is really around contamination between the bins, that students are putting the wrong things in the wrong bins, and so that whole bin has to be sent to the landfill then. And when you have all these students doing better education around what goes in what bin and better signage, you start combating that zero contamination problem and start reducing waste as well. Um, and we've just seen some really cool outcomes. Some students are really taking this this information and really expanding on it, not just at school, but at home as well. Um, why is this program important and what is the biggest value it brings to communities? Um, this program is really important when we're looking at the larger issue of climate change and our climate crisis. What we produce and consume is makes up for the largest amount of greenhouse gas emissions out of Vancouver. But what we produce and consume is not oftentimes, those emissions aren't often not created in Vancouver. They could be created around the world. Like a lot of our clothing is not produced in Vancouver, but in other countries internationally. And so when you start talking about zero waste and looking at this issue of what we're using, how long we're using it for, how many uses we get out of it, you start really attacking this problem of how what we produce and what we consume feeds into our emissions. And if we use things more, if we are able to fix the things that we use and extend their lifetimes, we're really reducing the amount of emissions that that we create. I also think that what's really important about this is we're sparking we're sparking ideas and getting students interested in essentially we're getting students interested in sorry. There's a lot of value for this at the community level as well, because we're really getting students interested in working on problems at the community level. Some people will go on to work at very large levels, right? The students we work with might grow up to serve as a legislative representative or in government or as a business executive, what have you. But we really need people to know that these problems start at a local level and that there's always something that could be done to help at the local level. And so I think that the biggest value that this brings to communities is it connects students to their communities, and it connects them to the ways that they can help their communities and connect with partners there and really influence their communities to make changes that otherwise might not be a priority, might not be as important, because the students are the future, and they're saying this is what's important to us and let's follow through on it. Based on your experiences, how do you find that each of the following groups benefit from this program? All right, so teachers. The programs that we developed, we work on problem-based learning, project-based learning, and place-based learning. And we always do more hands-on immersive activities, student-centered learning, essentially. And we really make sure that the activities that we develop, that throughout our workshops, there are different activities that appeal to different learning types. And this really benefits teachers in a lot of ways because, one, first off, they're learning oftentimes about this problem just as much or maybe more than students in some ways. Myself and many other teachers in the system right now, when we were in school, we learned that recycling was the best solution. And we know now that it really isn't. Only 91% of plastic produced 91% of plastic produced has not been recycled. Only 9% has been recycled. So teachers learn about the subject, but they also learn about ways that you can create activities that appeal to students and engage students in a different way than the typical lecture-based style. A lot of research shows that even though a lot of teachers are aware of student-centered methods and the benefits that they bring, they don't necessarily use student-centered methods in the classroom. We also, I think, really benefit teachers by getting them to think about how their class can engage with the community. I think it's always, this is always a goal that teachers have, but we provide that extra, that little, we act as that bridge between the class and the community that the teacher can really support, play a very large supporting role. And because we focus on problem-based learning, project-based learning, and place-based learning, we're really diving in with inquiry first and investigation to understand how that problem manifests in the classroom, in the school, in the community. And then we really encourage students to be the ones leading these projects. Students should be the ones designing, delivering all of it, and the teachers should be more playing a supporting role. And so this actually We think this is a real benefit to teachers because they get to support students learn these really important future skills for work, but not driving it in a lecture way. That it's more students are figuring this out on their own and asking questions, and the teacher is there to support. In place-based learning, we get students to engage with their communities, and I think those connections are just as important for teachers with classes in the future as it is for the students. For students, wow, how does this benefit them? In so many ways. The research is showing that a lot of students now are suffering, 90% of are experiencing eco-anxiety every single day. And so they are constantly faced with these problems like the climate crisis, like waste, like currently the COVID pandemic, that are huge and oftentimes feel like they don't have any power to change it, feel that they are reactive to the situation instead of being proactive. And so we really, I think, first off, provide a real way for students to be resilient in the faces of these huge, gigantic problems. We're really working on systemic level problems at a local level. And so we're giving students a way to be proactive about this stuff, to really make it, understand how they can make a difference that adds up for their community. In addition, how this benefits students, they get to get their hands dirty and really engage in a subject in a way that makes sense for them. And there are a lot of different ways. We do hands-on activities, art activities, presentation type activities. They get to engage in something no matter what their learning style. And then they get to develop a project that's interesting to them. This isn't a project assigned to them. They are the ones that come up with these projects and design these projects. And in that process, they're managing these projects. So they're learning all the skills necessary to manage a project. They're creating and delivering the key communications messages. So they're learning about how to advertise, how you appeal to different audiences when you're talking about something. And then they're also learning about how you evaluate a project. Every class that participates in our program does an investigation of some sort, be it counting the litter on a walk outside, or counting how many things from their lunch they would end up throwing out as a single-use item, or sorting through the garbage bins to see what's been sorted correctly and what hasn't. So they do these investigations. At the secondary level, they'll do interviews with their classmates to figure out where a waste problem exists in their community, and where that comes from a consumer level. But they're doing these investigations, and then we ask that they evaluate how their project does in addressing what they investigate. And so comparing the numbers, comparing interviews, for instance. And then past evaluation, we then look at expanding. And so, for instance, how do you communicate the success of your project? How do you get more people interested in participating? There's a lot of fantastic benefits to students. And I think additionally, one of the best things is that they're engaging with their community. I feel like I've said that a lot, but it can't be said enough. And it's not just that they're engaging with their community. Since this program is a City of Vancouver program, they are engaging civically. They are engaging with a city priority and a city program. And so they're really making a difference at a city level. And then lastly, families. How does this benefit families? We really see students as, after they go through our program or while they're going through their program, they can be teachers in their own households. Like I said, many adults, many parents, many family members. Right now, a lot of us did not learn um, about waste the way the city is going right now. A lot of us learned that recycling is the best option. Um, for instance, and that still is being communicated in some ways. And so I think having students come home and be able to confidently point out what is going well in the house, what's not going so well, how to sort things correctly, give ideas to their family about how they can change their habits, that's a huge benefit. Some research, for instance, is now showing that the number one group of people that change people's minds about climate change in is teenage girls, for instance. And so that's really showing the effect that the students we work with can have on their families. They bring the conversations we're having in the classroom, we're having at the city level into their home, and they translate it for how it makes sense for their family. And then lastly, how does this benefit organizations, companies, and community members? Wow. We really try and, especially in our secondary program, which has more of a circular economy focus, we show the different problems that we have with food waste, with packaging, and with textiles in the Vancouver region. And we have students map out their network. And what we mean by network is we have them think about all the businesses that they and their families spend money at. And we teach them that these are businesses that they then have influence over as consumers. And then we also bring up examples of innovators and entrepreneurs that are starting to attack this problem of waste through a really innovative, cool way. And so I really think we benefit the community and the companies and organizations that are within the community by essentially getting students to engage with them in a different way. Getting them to have these important conversations that I think make those organizations and businesses more resilient for how things are going to change moving forward towards 2040. And essentially, we're bringing in more leaders to the community that are prepared to deal with whatever problems come up there, be they about waste or even about something else, what have you. To highlight one top personal experience you've had with this program, i.e. such as a successful or meaningful impact that was demonstrated. Whew, wow, what a great question. I think one of the most exciting for me as someone that will facilitate some of these workshops, that also works with a lot of these community organizations and members in other ways. One of the top experiences that I had was at Tecumseh Elementary, visiting the classes again and seeing how excited the students were to show me what they did for their project. Because I think a lot of the times, does the success of the project matter? Absolutely. We obviously want all of our students to deliver a project that goes well, that has an impact. But what's going to carry through the most is whether students are excited about engaging with the community on that topic in general. So when you get students really excited to show you what they've done, and they're really excited and proud of it, that's a top experience for me, because it lets me know that I've succeeded in what I've been trying to do, which is essentially get students empowered and excited to work on these really difficult problems. These are what a lot of environmentalists would call wicked problems. They can be very complex, but if we attack it little by little, we can really make a fantastic difference. And it was really fantastic to see that excitement from the students at Tecumseh Elementary. Um, what would you say if you were speaking to someone who hasn't been involved in this program but are perhaps interested in it? I would say one of the best things that you could do right now would be to check out our Padlet, which is essentially we've taken a lot of what we try and do in our Zero Waste Place program in person, and with the coronavirus, we've now made those same activities and lessons, we've been trying to make them as accessible as possible through an online platform called Padlet. You could find it on our website. And I would say, check out some of those activities, play around with them a bit, contact us, chat with us for a bit, and try those out, see if you like them. And then I would say, register for workshops, because I think, I think our workshops speak for themselves. This is actually reminding me for number 5 as well, highlight a top personal experience. This year I've been piloting our secondary Zero Waste Place program, and had the fantastic experience of doing some of those pilots at Windermere Secondary School. And the teachers I worked with told me that they were probably some of the best workshops, if not the best workshops that they had ever received in their classes. And so I would say, first, check out our Padlet, get an idea of what we're doing, but then register for us to come and deliver workshops in your classroom if you're a teacher, in your classroom if you're a student, and if you're a parent, in your parent or family member, encourage the teacher of your students, encourage the teacher of these students to register for these workshops, because we would be so excited to bring these workshops to more people and get more fantastic participants. So check us out on Padlet. Check out our social media. We're doing a lot of fun challenges and competitions right now, and we are so excited sorry, I'm gonna try that again. We're so excited to work with everyone on this, be it City of Vancouver, the Vancouver School Board, and all of the amazing community members. And we hope we can work with all of you soon.